I didn't grow up writing poetry. I am a Canadian, and poetry was, I think, the furthest thing from my mind. It wasn't until I was quite older, and I was in France actually, and I was in Paris, and something quite beautiful happened. I felt was quite beautiful, and it inspired me to write on my phone, and that's what I did, and I just started posting them, and it was a creative outlet from me, and I never expected it to take off. It had just rained, as it does in Paris often, and it stopped raining and the sun came out and there was sun on these cobblestones. And I saw, if I'm to be honest, I saw the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. And and she smiled at me, and that inspired me to write. And it was the very first poem I ever wrote. No, a beautiful city and a beautiful girl. I used to type them on a typewriter. I really enjoyed that process of typing it, and I'd take pictures of it after, and Instagram was kind of just coming around, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start posting it, and I'm gonna do it anonymously. I'm gonna wear a mask, and then, you know, that's gonna help me to remind myself to write what I feel and not write for anybody else, and, you know, not write what I think I should feel. And so I did that, and I just started posting it, and like I said, I never expected people to resonate with anybody, and was very surprised when it did. Absolutely. You know, I'm smiling under here, if you can't tell. I hope my eyes can show you that I'm smiling. It's hard to say why people seem to have, you know, it seems to be resonating, and I think if I had to guess, maybe it's because I try to be really honest, and the nicest compliment I can get is when somebody messages me and says, you know, you said what I was thinking, but I didn't know how to articulate it. And I think the best way to do that as a writer is just to write honestly, and not try to censor yourself. And, you know, that's what I've tried to do, and I think the mask and keeping it about the writing and not necessarily who I am has helped me do that. I mean, who could have guessed that? And, you know, anywhere from the Kardashians to Vin Diesel, of all people. Yeah, I mean, I never expected it to happen, and I think it just shows that we're all human. We're all, you know, I like to say we're all wolves howling to the same moon. But, you know, I think we all go through the same things, and I really try to write honestly about these human things that I go through, and my, you know, the ups and downs of life, and I think, you know, perhaps that's what people resonate with. I certainly love to write epigrams and turns of phrase and aphorisms, you know, short form poetry, and I write longer form, but I'll take snippets out of it and I'll post those on Instagram, and to make them more bite-sized and consumable for someone who's just scrolling through. And I think that's why Instagram has played so well to this kind of resurgence of poetry, is that it makes it, I've always said it's almost like a gateway drug, in a sense, to more classical literature, because it is so bite-sized, it is so consumable. It's just often a sentence, a turn of phrase, and something that just short that makes you feel something. The one thing about Instagram is that people want to consume and consume and consume, and so, you know, it means you have to produce a lot of content, and you have to post a lot and post consistently, and people come to expect that, and so it is a lot of work in that sense, but it's like anything, you know. I love it because it's just a way of connecting with people, of starting these conversations. The stories that I've gotten out of my direct messages on Instagram have been immensely powerful. And so it is this beautiful community and sharing of work. You know, it's at the end of the day, it is just people sharing words and sharing art. And what I have loved about this is to see the amount of young people who are becoming excited about writing and reading. And, you know, I get hundreds of messages every day of people being like, you know, I gave up writing, but I saw something that you wrote, and it's made me start wanting to write again and share my work. And you know, at the end of the day, that's a beautiful thing, and that's a powerful thing to get youth excited about writing. And like I said before, it's a gateway into classical literature. And you know, the poems that I share in my book are often longer, and the ones I like to write are a bit longer. But on Instagram, they are short, and they are short form. But that's just the form that it is. It's like, you know, that it would be silly not to do short form poetry on Instagram, really. Unfortunately, most of my favorite writers and poets are dead. But you know, I love Bukowski, I love Hemingway, I love Sylvia Plath, Emily Dickinson, Robert Frost, Hunter S. Thompson. You know, Jack Kerouac was an incredible inspiration on me as well. I'll always wear the mask. I think it's important right now, even as a symbol, to, you know, for myself anyways, to remind myself to write what I feel and to be vulnerable and to not make it about the celebrity and recognition. And I had a beautiful line come up, an older woman came up to me after a show recently, and she had this beautiful line, and she said, you know, in a world obsessed by fame, it's beautiful to see someone sending love from the shadows. And I thought that was quite beautiful, and I was like, can I put that in my next book? Yeah, well, I'll tell you a story. So my little sister, I started writing, and about 2 years later, I came back one Christmas, and of course I'd kept it very, very secret and anonymous, and she was telling me about this poet that she was following named Atticus, and she was just loving it and like telling me all about it, and she'd been following me for 2 years and had no idea it was me. So yeah. Thought that was quite funny. I posted if I didn't have any fans, you know, so to me it's not about that. And I think at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing that's happening, that young people are getting and old people are getting re-energized by there's this resurgence of poetry in the world, and I think that's really, really special.